Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there, and more importantly, staying safe. We have some ongoing active weather going on right now. It's gotten very active over the last few hours. It's around 4:45, give or take a couple minutes. Central time right now, 5:45 in Eastern time when I'm making this video. So I'm kind of reiterating that just because some of this information I'll show you right at the beginning of this video, by the time some of you folks watch this, this will not be ongoing. Obviously, I understand there's a lot of people that tune into the folks that go live on YouTube breaking down the severe weather or whatever it may be. A lot of storm chasers out there going live, and trust me, I get it. You definitely want to stay tuned to those folks because they got the bird's eye view about with what exactly is going on right at this moment. But on this channel, we talk about what's going to happen in the future. So I'm going to start off by talking about what's going on right now because it leads into what's going to happen over the next several hours. There's a lot of people out ahead of these storms, like in eastern Tennessee, northern Alabama, maybe even North Georgia, central Mississippi, probably wondering what's going to happen over the next several hours. So here to give you an update on that. We're going to talk about the severe weather threat as it makes its way into the Carolinas, Georgia, up into Virginia for your Sunday. And then we'll give you updated information on the snow that is on the way for a lot of folks. I think there's going to be certain states like North Carolina, I think will be a big example of this tomorrow, that you could have severe weather on one side of the state and the rain is switching to snow on the mountain side of the state, which is the western side of the state. So it's going to be a dynamic day as far as weather. Tomorrow will be more of that snowier side, but there will be the severe weather risk. We'll talk about and compare some snow totals for everybody in the eastern U.S. There has been some changes today, so I want to talk about those changes. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. I said a prayer before the video. I am praying for you folks in Tennessee, as I know Clarksville, which is a pretty big town in Tennessee, got a direct hit from a tornado, and it looked like it did some pretty serious damage. I mean, leveled portions of neighborhoods. So it's just a tough night. We got to stop doing this in December out of all the months it keeps happening in. It's the holidays, Christmas time, but let's get rolling here. So this is what's going on right now. Like I said, this is as of around, if we're looking at the exact time, it's around 5:49 Eastern time, so 4:49 Central time. But we have severe thunderstorm warnings in the red boxes here, and in the purple boxes, a tornado warning. So we have, as of right now, at least it was observed about 30 minutes ago, a tornado making its way northwest of the Nashville area. This is probably due north of Nashville right now. Of course, I'm making this video, so I'm not getting updates on Twitter right now, so I don't know what it looks like, but this already dropped the tornado west and northwest of Nashville. Luckily, the actual tornado warned portion of this is going north of the higher populated city of Nashville. But man, it is very active. And this continues to make its way into Kentucky. We have a tornado warning even in northern Kentucky. And then we just have normal storms into Ohio. But this moisture will get much more enhanced as a low pressure will develop here in the eastern U.S. And widespread rain and gusty rains, even some storms, will be ongoing as we get deeper into tomorrow. But this is what's going on right now. We do have some storms back here in Louisiana producing some hail. I've seen some photos of some pretty large hail out there throughout the day. We have this lone storm down here in southern Mississippi. I would worry about these storms if they were not displaced from that low-level jet that we talked a lot about in this morning's video. Remember I was mentioning, and I don't like to toot my own horn or anything like that. I hate doing it. I don't like to do it at all. But you remember when I was mentioning this morning how I thought Tennessee and Kentucky would be the two states to really watch out for today, and that is because they had the best overlapping dynamics of kinematics and thermodynamics, and that's exactly what we've seen our most action tornado-wise for today. And guys, unfortunately, we have upgraded to that enhanced risk, and we will continue to see if this shifts a little bit further southeast or east, but you have the enhanced risk over Nashville with the ongoing tornado threat right now, all the way up the Bowling Green. Even northern sections of Mississippi have that enhanced risk. Okay, so that's that upgrade from this morning. Remember, this morning it was just a slight risk, but we have the enhanced risk, which is a level 3 out of 5. And we'll go over this really quick, guys. Tornado risk at a 10% now. We've already had confirmed tornadoes in this yellow area. And then we had the 5% risk in the brown area. The wind threat, 15% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher in the yellow area within 25 miles in any given location. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then the hail threat, you still have the ongoing 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter. Same criteria within 25 miles in any given location. So let's talk about the evolution of these storms over the next several hours into the overnight hours. Okay, it's getting dark out here. These storms get even, 3 times as dangerous when obviously the sun goes down. You can't see what's going on, and it gets very scary when you get a tornado warning at nighttime, especially. It's scary enough during the day. So these storms, they will continue. I think it'll be a loud night in Alabama, northern Alabama. And somebody mentioned, Mitch, can you edit times in these videos? Guys, that would take literally hours a week to do. If I did it to all my videos, it would take so much time, and unfortunately I don't have the time to do it. Maybe when I can do this full time one day, if that's God's plan with me and this channel, I can do that. But I just want to note, times are always on the screen. I'm always going to forget to mention it sometimes, but we are in Central Time for most of these states on your screen, except Georgia and the Carolinas. Okay, so this is in Eastern Time. So back this up 1 hour, so this is 10 p.m. tonight. So these storms will continue to chug on through. You'll get storms down here in Mississippi, and then we get to about 1 a.m. tonight. Storms and showers and just heavy rain making its way through Alabama. We still have storms down here in the Bayou of Louisiana, the Capaca Punch, and there will still be an ongoing small tornado risk here. But as they start to hit the Cumberland Plateau, these higher elevation regions, and you got the valley between the plateau and the actual mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina, they will begin to lose some steam. There's a little bit of cold air trapped east of the Appalachian Mountains, more stable air. These storms will lose some steam. But I mean, like I said, this is around 11 p.m., midnight. These storms are still packing a punch. Starting to move into North Georgia, up to Knoxville, the Tri-Cities region and northeast areas of Tennessee, and we keep this going. Atlanta, I think it's going to be a loud early Sunday morning for you folks. I think Montgomery will get some storms probably 3 to 4, 5 o'clock in the morning tonight, and then this continues to move on. Then the low pressure begins to develop, and we start to get some kind of redevelopment of some precipitation a little bit further west. And then this is when we could potentially switch to a little bit of snow right at the tail end of this sometime tomorrow morning in the Cumberland Plateau. I could see this happening. I can. I'm going to give my opinion on some of these crazy short range models with the snow when we get to that portion of the video. As far as the updraft Felicity swath, this is verifying pretty darn well up here in Tennessee especially. And we keep this going here, and we go through Alabama, and we take it all the way to Sunday morning. And it shows some of these storms spinning down in Alabama, North Georgia. But just because you see a highlighted area, that doesn't mean there's going to 100% be a tornado. That just means that this run of the HRRR models trying to show where these storms could be rotating. And just because the storm is rotating, that don't mean it's going to drop a tornado. But it does show an area around Chattanooga tonight. But you see, it makes an abrupt stop once it gets to the higher elevations of the mountains of North Carolina, North Georgia, and Tennessee. So it's going to be an active next several hours, I think, but I do think the tornado threat will lose its grip as we get deeper into the night. Now let's move a little bit further north up into Kentucky and the southern Alps region. These storms will start to knock on the door of the Smokies, the Gatlinburg region, eastern Tennessee, the valleys and Knoxville. I think it'll get the most active right in the middle of the night. 11 p.m. all the way through 3, 4 p.m. These are when these storms start to pack a punch. I think it'll just bring some gusty winds. I think the tornado threat will be much lower for you folks. But man, heavy rain, we really need the rain. So we're going to get it tonight into tomorrow morning. And then we're waking up for Sunday morning, okay? And these storms are starting to enter the eastern side of the Appalachian Mountains. But as far as Kentucky, the rest of the night, we'll start off around 7 p.m., tonight here in the next hour or so. These storms will continue to make their way through Kentucky. Lexington, you're already probably getting some bad weather right now, but these will start to move into the hills of Kentucky. And like I said, I think they'll lose some steam by the time they get into West Virginia. Just good old-fashioned rain. I can't let that term go for whatever reason. I'm just gonna ride with it. But we're moving into Sunday morning, and like I said, loud morning for Atlanta most likely. We'll see if these storms are really still packing a punch by the time they reach Atlanta here in the, basically late tonight into the wee hours of the morning. So, yeah, definitely be careful in this region up here, and if we look at the Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow, guys, I could see this getting bumped up to a slight risk somewhere. If it was going to be anywhere, I would say they're going to put it in eastern North Carolina. Or maybe even extreme southeast Virginia. We'll see, but this is a pretty large marginal risk extending from Tampa, Tallahassee, Columbus, all the way through Columbia, Charlotte, Raleigh, Richmond, heck, almost includes Roanoke, all the way to Washington, D.C., the Washington, D.C., Baltimore region. Okay? Pretty crazy. Even can get some thunderstorms all the way up into here into the southern New England region. All right? There is just a big old 2% risk of a tornado in the green area within 25 miles in a given location, then just your 5% risk of wind, and then the chance for hail is less than 5%, so don't even show up on here. So how is this going to evolve in the Carolinas tomorrow? So I'll start it off where I left off from the last frame. This is around, we're in Eastern time, so we can just speak in Eastern time. It's around 7 a.m., waking up for Sunday morning. For folks heading to church, it's going to be a rough commute depending on what service you're going to or where you're located when these storms move through. But, you keep going and you start to get into the middle of the morning, 9, 10 a.m. Storms starting to move through the Columbia region, Charlotte, the Greensboro area. This is, I would say, just rain up here in Virginia for the most part. But you got two things going on around mid-morning. We have some storms affecting the Outer Banks and extreme eastern sections of North Carolina. Could even sneak into the Myrtle Beach or Wilmington area. These will be spinning off the coast. There's, a favorable climatic environment working its way in. And man, if these storms were working its way more so into land, I think we would need to bump this up to a 5% risk of a tornado. Still could. But we keep this going. Kind of what happens is you got kind of three things going on here as we get into about 2 p.m. You got to watch all these storms in eastern North Carolina, especially. All right, you got to watch these storms up here near Richmond. This is around 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Heavy rain into the Delmarva region. All these storms into here have a chance to rotate somewhat, okay? And then you look kind of in the middle. There's kind of a developing line of storms making its way through Georgia. These will be also going through areas of the Panhandle down here that we need to watch out for. And then we have those storms moving through the Greenville-Spartanburg area. And then, they could potentially lose some steam. And this just turns into just rain, heavy rain with some gusty winds. But I'm telling you, Outer Banks, if you live out there, I mean, you could get some rotating thunderstorms throughout the afternoon, evening. And even we're probably going to get some special weather statements for some water spouts just off the coastline, North Carolina more. As I would be concerned about this if this was more so. I would be a little bit more concerned about this if this was more so over land, but it's looking like it's just going to ride over the Outer Banks. So we'll see what happens with this. As of now, I'm thinking that it's going to stay mainly over water, but we still got to watch these storms right in here. Now, all this moisture moving into the Carolinas. Check this out. We're going to talk more on this here in a second. This is what I'm talking about here. You got severe storms probably ongoing in eastern North Carolina. You got rain switching to heavy snow. Asheville up to Boone, the Waynesville region. I mean, Gatlinburg, you're switching to heavy snow. And to keep this going, just good old rain for South Carolina, the rest of North Carolina. And then look at that, okay? Well, we'll talk more on that here in a second, okay? Very, very interesting little scenario here. The updraft Felicity swath. There's a very open window here where the tornado threat isn't as high, but what I want you to notice here is once you get off the coastline North Carolina, this is when it really starts to pick back up. But luckily, it's not over land. So we'll continue to watch that as far as rain. North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, even Georgia will pick up a lot. But once you get into Virginia, 2, 3, maybe as much as 4 inches of rain in the Delmarva region, a lot of rain will fall. So we'll watch that. Now let's go back. Let's go back to kind of where we started, the Southern Alps region. We'll start this around midday tomorrow. Last little bit of moisture moving in, and as it does, the HRRR model says we're going to switch to some heavy snow in extreme eastern and northeast areas of Tennessee. And it could switch to some heavy burst of snow too. And if you can get 1 to 2 hours of very heavy snow, I think that you could get some light snowfall accumulation. So we'll see how this happens. I would watch out. I would even watch out back in Knoxville. But I would say if you live in Johnson City, the Kingsport area, the Bristol region, I think you need to watch out tomorrow evening. You could switch to a period of heavy snow. You stop it here. It's around 7, 8 p.m. tomorrow. All the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee into Southwest Virginia seeing very heavy snow. It's already snowing, especially in the higher elevations of West Virginia. Rain is starting to switch to snow in the higher elevations of Western Virginia. You got some light snowfall, snow showers kind of drifting through Kentucky late tomorrow evening. And then what interests me is look how this rain switches to heavy snow around, based off the HRRR model, kind of around, the Wilkesboro area. Winston-Salem tries to get all the way to Greensboro. Look what it's doing in Virginia. We'll talk more on this when we move a little bit further up, but you got some back-end snow showers kind of making its way through eastern sections of Kentucky overnight tomorrow night, and then all gets more calm as we're waking up for a Monday morning. We look at the NAM, guys. It does the same thing. Now, you know how I think about the NAM. The NAM, is just the NAM. It's drunk a lot of the times. It's not a very great model, I would say. But, same thing. We get into tomorrow afternoon. You start to see the blues showing up. I like this idea, especially in the higher elevations, switching to some heavy snow. And it likes northeast Tennessee. So if you're viewing from this region of northeast Tennessee, I think y'all call it the Tri-Cities region. I think that's what y'all call it. Bristol, Kingsport, the Johnson City, Greenville region could switch to some snow tomorrow evening. I wasn't buying this at first. I'm just going to keep it 100% real with you. But I'm liking the idea of it a little bit more this evening. Snowing pretty hard into Virginia. I should know more areas. Blacksburg, you could switch to snow all the way up to Lynchburg. Certainly in the Wytheville region, I think that's how y'all pronounce it. I was chasing some storms up here earlier this summer, but man, look at the NAM. It is snowing hard all the way down into Asheville. It even tries to switch it to snow into the Greenville-Spartanburg area. Now, if you're viewing from that area, I do not think that's going to happen. But man, it has, it's switching to snow in Hickory, almost all the way down to Lincolnton, makes it all the way down to Charlotte at around 3 a.m. Tomorrow night. Wild stuff, right? Do I think that's going to happen? I don't. But it is interesting. I will show it to you. And obviously, I think a lot of snow could add up in the higher elevations of Virginia and West Virginia. But I can tell you guys that the blend of all models isn't buying this. And the National Weather Service isn't buying this. It's just going for very low-end totals, really confined to the higher elevations. Same thing with Virginia, and not even a lot showing up for West Virginia. So, and you look at the National Weather Service forecast, it's not much different. They're just not buying it. But, you look, I'm not, the HRRR model, I think these snowfall totals are always going to be overdone. But what I can tell you is, it definitely dumps a lot more snow in these regions. And it really wants to hit the higher elevations, basically any of the elevations in the mountains, with a few to even in some cases several inches of snow. And there's that little area trying to switch to snow in northern North Carolina. Is this going to happen? I don't think it'll be quite this aggressive, but I could see more snow than what the National Weather Service is calling for happen. In fact, I'm kind of thinking it will. In my personal opinion, I think it will. You look at the latest kind of the European ensemble, which I think is a respectable thing to look at here, and man, it doesn't get close enough. But anyways, let's see what happens. I'm going to be very interested. Now let's look at the Mid-Atlantic. Same thing, you start to Sunday morning, just good old rain in West Virginia, Pennsylvania. Some gusty storms could make its way into the D.C. area. could be enough to prompt a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm not buying that though. Some heavier rounds of rain begins to make its way throughout Long Island, New York City. This is just rain. Okay, somewhere embedded in all this, a front will move in though, and cold air will begin to crash the column, and you'll start to get a lot of cold air that works to the surface. At the same time, Sunday afternoon, you have some gusty winds, strong winds, maybe damaging winds in some cases, making its way through New York City, Long Island, New Jersey, southern New England. You keep this going, you're starting to switch to that back-end snow in West Virginia, western Maryland. And I mean, you know, this is around 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. tomorrow night, 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight. And you are really switching to some pretty heavy snow based off the HRRR model in Pennsylvania, western Maryland, even getting into the eastern panhandle of West Virginia. And it's just rain in southeast sections of Pennsylvania and like down to the Washington, D.C., Maryland region. But you keep this going, guys, and, you know, we get into well after midnight. We start to get into the wee hours of the morning Monday. Look at this back-end thumping of snow it's showing for the Mid-Atlantic now. And I know you asked, Mitch, do you buy this? I don't buy it. I don't think it'll be this aggressive. But to me, it is very impressive that, you know, we're this close to it. It's tomorrow, into tomorrow night, and it's still showing this. So my guard, you know, I've dropped my guard a little bit on it, which means that I think there's a possibility that a little bit closer to the I-95 corridor, you can switch to snow. And I think that it's starting to become possible. Now, am I going to buy these aggressive snowfall totals that it's showing? I'm not. But, you know, I switched to snow as far east as the kind of the Fredericksburg area, the Charlottesville region, you know, down to Roanoke. Absolutely. You know, maybe not as far east as the Fredericksburg area. We got to watch, but, you know, DC, I mean, it's switching to a nice thumping of snow. I say nice if you're a snow fan, but I'm going to speak like we all are snow fans. But, I mean, look at the Delmarva. You have a kind of Monday morning, kind of a burst of heavy snow as the rest of this moisture kind of departs. Snowing up here in the Poconos, the Catskills, northern New Jersey, and you even try to switch to snow in New York City based off the HRRR model sometime Monday morning. All right, and, you know, we compare this with the NAM. The NAM, you know, is aggressive also, guys. I mean, it's not any more or less aggressive. It's kind of just going all in on this. It's been going all in on this. And here it is. There's the snow chasing down the rain, switches to snow in D.C., the Delmarva region. And, I mean, it thumps New Jersey, Delaware, New York City as we're getting into Monday morning. So, but you look at the GFS, even the GFS has made shifts further east with the snow. And we start, you know, in the middle of the night, Sunday nights. And, I mean, look, the GFS is even showing it trying to switch to snow outside the higher elevations of Virginia and North Carolina, kind of in southern Virginia, northern North Carolina. And the latest GFS, guys, I mean, it follows suit of what the short-range models are showing. And it switches it to snow wee hours of the morning Monday and the Monday morning. Okay, and in a several-hour period of snow, too. I mean, look at this. We're getting into Monday morning, rain switching to snow for the Mid-Atlantic. And, yeah, this is bringing snow to the I-95 corridor. But you look at precipitation first. I'll show you this first. And there's just a weird glitch ongoing right now in southern New England. We won't really just focus on that. But we know that there's a lot of rain coming throughout the entire Mid-Atlantic. 2, 3, 4 inches of rain. Sure bet, especially around the 2 to 3 inch of rain. But, you know, when you're talking about snow, guys, let me tell you right now, the meteorologists are going to get a lot of flack from this if this ends up dumping a few inches of snow on like DC or Baltimore, or, you know, much further east than what this is showing. The National Weather Service, the blend of all models, this is the blend of all models going very conservative as of now, kind of ignoring what these models are going to. So they're either going to be really wrong or either going to be really right. And, I just don't think that the experts really buy this. Don't get me wrong, guys. They see it. I just don't think they buy it. Okay? Does Mitch buy it? I will try to meet in the middle. I mean, you can't ignore what these models are showing. You can't ignore the changes in the storm track of this system. You know, the National Weather Service going for a few inches of snow in western Maryland, West Virginia, and some of these higher mountain ranges here in West Virginia. I'm sorry, in Virginia, and just going for a couple inches at most in some areas in Pennsylvania. Up here in northeast Pennsylvania, they're going for a few inches of snow. So not a lot. Doesn't predict any snowfall totals as of right now for these sections along the I-95 corridor. So, you know, you turn around, you look at the latest GFS and what it shows. Yeah, it's much different. Shows pockets of accumulating snow in New Jersey, Delaware, even down here in the coastal waterways near Maryland. Pretty wild stuff. So we definitely need to watch this, guys, for sure. Winds will be whipping if you're along the immediate coast. 30, 40 mile per hour winds. Long Island, 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts. Could cause power outages and some gusty winds even further inland. So last bit of this video, let's talk about New England and the Northeast. Rain will begin to take over the entire New England region as we get into tomorrow afternoon. This is around 4 or 5 p.m. Heavier rain down here in southern New England. Just good old rain at first for New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire. And then as we move into later in the evening, cold air catches up with this rain. Just a washout ongoing at the same time with some gusty winds for southern New England and Maine. But the snow begins to fall. Rain, heavy rain switches to heavy snow in central New York State and northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire. And then, I mean, by the time you get into the middle of the night, guys, tomorrow night, I mean, you have an all-out snowstorm based off the HRRR model ongoing for PA through New York State all the way up through northern Vermont. So we need to watch this. Adirondacks, Catskills get snow. And then as this system pulls out, cold air tries to catch up with it. Looking at Monday morning at this point, Maine, I don't know if this is going to really be your storm. Heavy, heavy rain with strong winds ongoing in Boston as we're waking up Monday morning. And then look at this rain switching to snow for western Mass, western Connecticut. You know, we got to see if this actually is on to something, but it wants to drop, accumulating snow in the Berkshires, even kind of the Worcester Hills region of central Mass, and begins to switch rain to snow as we get into Monday afternoon for New Hampshire. I don't think this is going to be a big storm for Maine, but we'll see. But a lot of rain will fall, guys, especially in southern New England. You know, 3 to 4 inches of rain in this entire region right here. Snowfall. National Weather Service is the most confident up here. We got an all-out winter storm on the way, anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of snow, depending on your location up here in the Adirondacks. You know, it just depends on where you are. Stay tuned to your locals up here. But, I mean, you look at the Berkshires going for a few inches of snow from this. We compare this with the blend of all models, and it's more conservative, not as aggressive with the snowfall totals. And then we look at the HRRR model. And, yeah, guys, I mean, we have to switch it back to this. And here we go. I mean, it's going all in with some of these heavier snowfall totals a little bit further east. It really likes the Catskills region. It really does to get more snow than the Adirondacks. So we'll see what happens here. We look at the let's look at the GFS. And, yeah, it really, really slams Vermont with a hefty storm. But, I mean, look at the GFS getting close to New York City. So it's something to watch for sure. So we move, let's move a little bit further on up into, like, Maine. And, yeah, GFS is going all in for western Maine. But if you look at the National Weather Service forecast, well, we're going to get more than that. But we look at the National Weather Service forecast, and yeah, it just kind of keeps the heavier snowfall accumulations to northern New Hampshire and western Maine. So we'll see what happens with that. Winds will be the strongest with this system, more than likely, along the coastal regions of southern New England, southeast Mass. 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts are possible with this. So please be careful in these regions. And we, you know, some gusty winds even up into Vermont and the rest of Mass and Connecticut and Rhode Island also. But, you know, we get up into Maine and, the down east areas of Maine is going to get blasted with some tropical storm force to even hurricane force wind gusts. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, big time wind event ongoing, about to move in for you folks also. But coastal regions of Maine, please, hunker down. This will be equivalent to a kind of a stronger nor'easter. So that's all I got, guys. Stay safe tonight with what's going on. Have a plan. Take the weather serious. Don't wait to take the weather serious until it's serious. A lot of people do that, and it can cost you your life. So God bless all y'all. I'll be with you in the morning.